Tonight, makeups, breakups, and used to be A-cups. Jackson County residents, do you have to sell your house to get a house? And a car story that doesn't involve Pontiacs. Finally, check out these stories and more right here on The Black Man Show. Let's go. What is good? What is good? I am Seven Blackman, and this is The Black Man Show, where we take a look at the news that affects me, sure, and you. First off, I would like to thank each and every one of you all for checking us out last week and checking out our first episode. I'm hopeful that this is a version and format that you all can vibe with as we continue to feel things out and just trying to get the channel to the way we want it. So I want to thank you all for your suggestions, your comments, feedback, and insight. Now, I'll do my best to incorporate what seems to make the most sense as we grow this channel out. So with that said, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and most of all, tell your mama we here. But that's right. This is The Black Man Show, and I am a black man with the name Black Man, but you can call me Seven. And I love my people like I love my coffee, black. And it's got to be cold brew with cream, sugar, maybe some caramel, a little ice, cinnamon, whipped cream. Oh, nutmeg for the since it's the fall. Can we get somebody to Here we go. Get my own damn coffee. The hell kind of so good. This one I respectfully call the Sana. Let's get into today's news. First up, who knew or saw this coming? Y'all gonna have to let me know, because it seems more and more we're seeing Hollywood couples finding out they aren't as compatible or powerful as they thought they were, right? We're seeing Tiana and Iman call it Splitsville, hearing something that may be going on with Remy Ma and Papoose in that camp over there. We know about what's going on with Michael B. Jordan and Lauren. I mean, do we really consider her Hollywood though? You know what I'm saying? Like, what has she really done in Hollywood besides my bad? But what we're looking at today and can confirm is Young Jeezy and Jeannie Mai. So, during the pandemic, the former snowman turned rapper and the Sweet Life star turned daytime talk show host, Jeannie Mai, wed only 2.5 years ago, and by all accounts, seemed like the couple was destined to be the next John and Chrissy. Don't you do this to us, Kron. Wait, Kron, isn't that what you call it when you combine the names, Chrissy and John? Are we still doing that? I don't know, my bad. But you know what I'm talking about. And you, put that tongue back in your mouth, young lady. I see you. We know what you advertising. After celebrating their daughter's arrival just 2 years ago, the couple continued to thrive. Interviews as recently as June gave no indication that things were on the downturn. And a post just last week where Jeannie is seen with her daughter helping to push Jeezy's new book also made it seem like things were going smoothly. But behind the smiles and the money grabs, there was a storm on the horizon, apparently. It seems they've reached a relational impasse. Their official statement is that they're divorcing due to a difference in family values and expectations. But many have speculated several other reasons for this separation, and it seems all fingers are really pointing to Jeannie, especially considering it was Jeezy who filed for divorce. So we're seeing things like possible infidelity, showing a fake persona and fake respect for her husband, and just downright light bigotry. Now, of course, this was when she was married to a white man who she did not want to procreate with at the time. So one can assume that she was just rooting for the home team, right? But I know of several racists who had no problem bumping Jay-Z and Cash Money while in college. And I can't lie, I would cringe at the women who would fetishize the black athletes, gushing over how great it would be to have a baby that was exotic. I'm just hopeful that she wasn't cosplaying as the woman that Jeezy actually wanted. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sure it's not that, right? Again, one can only speculate at this point, as they've yet to officially address the situation for the numerous fans. So we just wish them the best and hope, ultimately that they continue to do all that they can to give the support that they need for themselves as well as for their daughter. Okay, so this next one may take a little bit to unravel, so take your shoes off and chill for a minute. We're going to be here for a second. If you are in the state of Missouri, you may have heard about the recent developments in property tax assessments, particularly in Jackson County. That's like the west side of Missouri. So what's going on here? The county is looking to get the homes basically closer to market value. And that entails the county sending out agents like Puffy's flyer launching street teams back in the 90s to each home in order to properly assess them and their corresponding taxes. So as to not say, launch somebody's home value so high in the financial turmoil that auntie and them will have to contemplate selling a house to have a house to live in. You dig what I'm saying? So here's a little background to it. Since 2000, the aggregate property values of all properties in Jackson County essentially have doubled, but property values during that same span are up 185% in Platte County, 154% in Cass County, and nearly 140% in Clay County. That potentially puts Jackson County residents in jeopardy for falling behind their county neighbors and undervaluing the area. Now, Jackson County has tried to play catch up in the last 4 years, including the largest jump in aggregated assessed values for any county in Missouri in 2019. So with the process that they have in place, there's bound to be some shakeup and potential discrepancies and bringing those home values up to date. So what's been found is that on average, home values have gone up about 30% across the county. But some reports show at least 80,000 homes have been valued at 50% higher or more. And some elderly residents have experienced values of up to 95% in the south and east parts of Jackson County. With the average home values going up about, that 30%, but someone is like, Frank White, Jackson County executive, correspondent for overseeing this process. It's kind of interesting that his personal Jackson County homes value only went up 7% in comparison to his next door neighbors on either side, with similar styled and sized homes that have gone up about 30% each. And this has led to some bitter back and forth between the executive and Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas. And there was a lot said, but with the way it's been rolled out, Lucas contends that basically this would be a mess of a process, right? Jackson County Director of Assessment, Gail McCann Beatty, seen here looking very beady, provided steps for, and I'm not sure if it's Beatty or Beatty, but because it looks like Warren Beatty, but I'm not sure if it's Beatty or Beatty. Sorry. But she's provided steps for residents to appeal the potentially poor assessments, which generally include contacting their office, providing evidence of your home's updates over the past years or the lack, meeting or speaking with a broker, receiving a new judgment, which runs the risk of going even higher in some instances. And then if you still feel you aren't satisfied with the amount, there's a further escalation process. Pretty clear and simple, right? So nothing to worry about. Well, after talking with one resident who told of her harrowing experience in seeking a new assessment, it seems there may be even more reason for residential pushback amid the discrepancies over these assessed values. According to Ms. Trish, who has 3 properties in the county of dissimilar style and size, noticed an assessment of over 75% for one property and more than 100% for another in only 1 year. So this left her kind of scratching her head on the assessment, considering she hadn't upgraded the home in any way, she hadn't suddenly moved to a higher tax area or anything similar. And that's not to mention the poor way that the staff seemed to be informed, with her receiving information that her account was closed from one set of people, and actually Ms. Beatty herself was the one saying so, only to have another set of personnel demand to have Ms. Trish's account reopened. And remember the city deploying that P. Diddy street team, to your homes? Well, it seems the county paid third-party company Tyler Technologies, based out of Texas, to actually do the deployments. And it appears in many instances that they collected on their multi-million-dollar contract fee while missing several reporting deadlines. And according to several outlets, the research that they conducted wasn't even used in the assessments. So many residents reported that they've never been visited, leading them to speculate where these assessment values even came from and how they were based. So briefly going back to Ms. Trish, right? She said initially she had a walk-in appointment to go into the office to challenge the assessed values and was provided a reduced amount almost on the spot. And let's not mention the stories like the 92-year-old Lone Jack resident whose home's value went from $294,000 to $772,000, raising his property taxes from around $4,200 to over $10,000 with no payment plan available this year. And it's not like these changes went through uncontested, right? Some members of the county legislature initially suggested a cap of about 15% for seniors and disabled owners, or even for all residents, utilizing a rate from 2019 while aiming to usher in years of change in only about 6 months. But Beatty urged against that, saying that this would cause an enormous amount of inequity around the county. Now, my pushback is, if this was true, then why do we have a flat rate fee for everything else throughout the county? I'm pretty sure there's a flat rate county tax for any retail seller, any vehicle purchased, or any dildo bought in the county. Thankfully, howdy doody, Governor Parsons signed Senate Bill 190 in July, exempting seniors at 65 or over from paying property taxes at all, which doesn't go into effect until next year, unfortunately. So this year, they have to pay the property tax. However, next year, after this goes into law, seniors whose homes are valued at $550,000 or less can also apply for tax relief. So about that escalation process I spoke about earlier, both the assessor and legislators say that you should continue to file appeals and request a hearing with the Board of Equalization or the Missouri State Tax Commission. But your best bet is with the Jackson County website, because they're no longer accepting walk-in appointments. So with this being as messy as it is, this has led to a citizens class action lawsuit against the Jackson County legislature, as well as Tyler Technology, arguing that the burden to properly assess home values should be on the county and not the individual taxpayer. Okay, think about it, right? You have a home. You get a letter from the county telling you that the value of your home, which you haven't upgraded in over a decade, has significantly increased in value. So the onus now goes on you to fight the county to properly assess the value. Now that's money spent in possibly getting appraisals, hiring a real estate agent, or maybe even an attorney, physical inspections and all that stuff, which require their own timing. There's time off work, time to set up a meeting, hopes that they'll show up, gas money to and from wherever the office is that they say that they'll accept walk-in appointments, only to have to return on a date in the future, which could include you taking some hours or the whole day of work off, right? It can definitely cost you. So this class action suit is to provide pushback against that process. Now, I know it seems crazy, but it seems like the old, guilty till proven innocent play doesn't quite seem to land well with a group of people who was raised on the opposite. And if you think about it, right, that's essentially what they're doing. In many respects, they're basically saying you're the criminal, but it's up to you to prove your innocence at your own expense. We'll continue to keep an eye on this, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. The whole story to me is crazy. And now I'm sure you all are aware of the scandal of Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Which one? I know, it's a fair question. But what I'm talking about is this recent situation of an elected official getting kicked out of a performance of Beetlejuice, the musical, right? That's right, 37-year-old grandmother and perennial mean girl who makes $175,000 a year as a call girl. Wait, I'm sorry, that's supposed to say Congresswoman, seen here obviously accepting the Peace Prize, was recently booted from the building when Boebert brazenly bobbled a man's balls, banged the bong, and badly belted the lyrics while trying to juice his beetle. This, while her date for the evening, a Mr. Quinn Gallagher, if you will, took the time to tackle her tatas while taking a toke, turning heads, tantalizing teens, and tormenting thousands who wanted to take a turn. Who wanted to take her to task. And look, I get it. Sometimes you just, you get on one, you want to hang out with your boo. You may get a little hot, maybe a little touchy-feely. Maybe she wants to suck on her favorite vape pen, and you collectively just want to chill, right? But I just find it interesting that some, it seems, are just playing the role of government official, right? To them, I'm sure they think they're saying,
hey, I'm just like you guys.
But when you look at the actual work they do, you see how it clashes with this moment of letting their hair down, right? For example, Boebert stands staunchly against the LGBTQ community. When there was a mass shooting at a gay club in Colorado Springs in her home state this summer, she stated that drag events sexualize children. She labeled pediatrician and Health and Human Services Assistant Secretary for Health, Dr. Rachel Levine, as a groomer, and she said that the Equality Act is about the supremacy of gays and transvestites and lesbians above all other Americans. So with that in mind, and believe me, look, you can have whatever stance you want. I just find it interesting that the gentleman who she allowed to test our tax dollar Tijuana tit job is the owner of a bar that actually hosts drag shows. It's almost like they're conservative in public, but in private, they may be a little more free, liberal. I don't know. What do they call it? Conservative in the streets, liberal in the sheets. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Who knows? In her twisted mind, maybe she thought she was paying an homage to one Paul Rubens, also known as Pee Wee Herman. We'll miss you, sir. And if you got that reference, bonus points. As we near the end of what's become hot strike summer, we're left facing one more for the road, so to speak. First, it was the actors, then it was the writers, then it was UPS. Now it's the UAW and Detroit's Big Three, also known as Ford, GM, and Stellantis, which includes brands like Fiat, Ferrari, Dodge, Jeep, and Maserati, just to name a few. Basically, union workers are looking to get a bigger portion of the profit they've missed over the past 14 years. After this past Friday at midnight, over 127,000 workers have walked off the job in Michigan, Missouri, and Ohio plants, making this one of the biggest auto strikes in generations. The UAW actually is striking all three car makers at the same time for the first time in its 88-year history, utilizing what they call a stand-up strike, wherein certain workers of certain plants are called to strike while others remain still working, all in an effort to keep the companies themselves guessing. So just yesterday, as a matter of fact, GM sent 2,000 workers home, recently alerted to join the fray away from their Kansas plant. And because of the circumstances of the current strike, these workers are ineligible for subpay, which is pay that workers would receive in the event of something like a part shortage or maybe a plant fire. So the UAW has about an $825 million strike fund, but I'm sure they'll have to monitor its distribution very closely as they potentially have to cover all 400,000 UAW members. So what do they want, right? Basically, as mentioned, they want a bigger portion of the profits. I mean, over the past 4 years alone, CEO salaries have gone up about 40% on average, while employee salaries during that same period have barely gone above 5%. So they were initially seeking 46% of a pay increase, and now it's about at 36%. And it seems like GM and Ford are kind of, getting close to a negotiation, getting close to that space where them both offering about 20%. But Stellantis, who has a little bit more ability to play hardball due to their deeper pockets, they're only offering 16% as of right now. But according to the Vox report, they're also seeking a 32-hour work week, which could equate to 40 hours of pay. They also want temps to be established as full-time workers after 90 days with full benefits, and an elimination of the two-tiered pay system, which essentially paid new hires significantly less amount than the tenured workers, which has basically been in place since 2007. So part of what these demands are ultimately about is better quality jobs, said Kate Bond, who's an economist and research director at WorkRise at Urban Institute, saying, when workers have less bargaining power, employers take advantage of that and make jobs worse. And this does seem to be the case. I will say it seems to be similar to kind of what we've seen on the interwebs in reference to the WNBA's push for higher pay, but honestly with a lot more teeth.
We are not asking to get paid what the men get paid. We're asking to get paid the same percentage of revenue. Do you know what I'm
Got
saying?
it. So that's a huge misconception.
That's a huge misconception.
Got it.
In the NBA, they have percentages of revenue shared for the players, right? So jersey sales, their TV contracts, but that's because their CBA negotiates. If the owners are making certain types of money, they get that as well. In the WNBA, that's not the case.
For sure.
Yeah, because every video is like, oh, this person gets paid this person gets paid that, right?
So I want to be really clear about that. Like, I don't think I should get paid the same as LeBron.
Right.
But the percentage of revenue, like, for example, they sell my jersey in Mandalay Bay, I don't get a dime.
You don't get any money from jersey sales? That's crazy. That's
so like bullshit. That's the stuff we're talking about.
Sure.
The main difference being that the Big Three actually have been profitable over these years since their last contract, whereas the WNBA, Now this goes back to before the Obama era, good old 2007, right? Back when we didn't even know what an Airbnb was. We had no clue what Iron Man was gonna do to us in the best possible ways. And we were at the beginning of a cell phone wars, right? First the iPhone, then shortly after purchasing YouTube, Google followed that up by bringing Android's beta later on in the year. And no one has been able to communicate effectively since. Man, wasn't 2007 just yesterday? But seriously, what was going on that made these contracts necessary at the time? Well, we had this thing called the financial crisis that was going on, and this was right before the Obama industry bailout because he hadn't been elected yet. So these cuts were definitely needed at the time. Basically, the companies needed a hand from their employees as well as from the government during the financial crisis. And it has bounced back significantly in the 14 years since, and the UAW wants their slice of the pie. I kind of liken this to what happened at my wife's job recently, right? So just bear with me. Basically, my wife's company A was already small, and then certain pandemic hit, causing a reduction in their workload, or so they thought. Bosses anticipated all these cutbacks, so as a result, they asked their 13-member workforce to take a 30% temporary pay cut, just to help the company, get over the hump. So the employees agreed, and the company, oddly enough, hit record numbers during that time. And since the company was made whole, and not to mention the government assistance that they received, that they didn't distribute to the employees, do you think they ever gave back those lost wages, that 30%? I'll tell you what Company A did. Since it was looking more attractive with the lower wages and the higher revenues, it looked incredibly profitable, and therefore it was easier to sell Company A to new Company B. And once Company B found out about the loss or missed wages in those arrears, do you think the new company made everybody whole? So what are the implications of this strike for us, right? The Anderson Economic Group, which is basically a think tank, last month said that a 10-day strike could lead to about a $5 billion loss to the economy. And because the auto industry makes up only about 3% of the US GDP initially, the economy wouldn't take a major hit. But if this continues, and we're talking months, you would definitely experience a hit and you would be feeling it in your pocket. With many hoping a return to sanity in new and especially used car prices, it's looking like vehicle prices will actually increase, especially into the fourth quarter, said auto expert and founder of Seraph Consulting, Ambrose Conroy. If successful, it could also lead to other auto workers following suit. Now, I'm sure the non-union workers at places like Kia and BMW are closely monitoring the situation to kind of see how it lands. With this, in addition to the threat of government shutdowns and student loans being resumed, the economy and US GDP could and maybe should be bracing for impact. But I'll just leave it up to you. What are your thoughts on the entire situation? Do you think the UAW is overreaching, or 14 years too long to be under an agreement that was basically created under what some may call duress or temporary measures, right? And while we know your manager at your job, and yeah, I'm talking about you, Carlos, won't pay you enough to live next door to him, what is the happy medium that satisfies both parties? Can that be reached without eating the rich and dismantling an industry, or must the rich be eaten at all costs? Lastly, I'll start this one off by saying I don't really want to stay. I don't really want to go. All I really want to know is, can y'all get it together? Because let's be real. I believe that Iris Grinstead, former singer of the R&B group 702, deserves better. She absolutely deserves better than what she received, or at least what her memory and her name has received in processing the information of her recent passing. The singer and my boyhood crush, Iris Grinstead, recently passed away due to renal failure, which was a long-term battle that she and her twin sister Orish, who passed in 2008, both dealt with. I absolutely offer my condolences to her family, bandmates, producers, friends, and all. I just find it disheartening that when I was looking up information for this story, and just to kind of get some background information for her as I was, Googling the webs, there was no Google-powered AI assistance, as if you were to, say, look up other stars who passed, like Paul Rubens. And look, I get it, sure. Maybe his light shone a little brighter. Maybe he had a little bit longer career. I don't even know. Did he have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Maybe he did. I honestly don't know. But maybe he's reached more hearts, yada, yada, yada. All of that. Sure, I get it. But that's what happens when men, right, decide to forget or omit. But what happens when the technology that's programmed by those men also does the omission. It's like now the machine is doing the work of the man, right? So when that technology transcends our daily lives, yet excludes certain bits of data that some may deem as important, it's me. I'm some people. How effective is that technology? Or better yet, what is the technology really doing? Especially if those coming behind us look to it as a measure of truth. I mean, I honestly don't have an answer, but I'm reminded of the book Algorithms of Oppression by Sophia Umoja Noble, where it looks at this very issue from a search engine perspective. However, I'll leave it right there and just ask your thoughts on this or any of the other stories that we had today. Where my girls at, indeed. We'll miss you, Irish. So thanks again for checking out the Black Man Show. If you have any info or stories that you'd like us to cover, maybe some corrections that I need to make, or just you want to say what's happening, holler at us at showtheblackman@gmail.com. And be sure to reach out, holler at us, follow, like, subscribe, and all that humana. And be sure to reach us on IG and Twitter, both under the same @ShowTheBlackman. So with that said, I'm Seven Blackman. This has been The Black Man Show. Thanks so much for checking us out this week, and we'll see you next time. Peace.